Commander Eileen Lawson could still feel the hum of the ancient warship's engines reverberating through her boots as she stood on the bridge of the UNS Venture, the first Earth-built vessel to break the Corbin blockade. The battered hull creaked with every maneuver, its plating scorched from too many close calls against an enemy Earth had hardly believed they could fight, let alone defeat. Only a few months earlier, humanity had seemed on the brink of total annihilation. Now, the Venture's forward cannons crackled with stolen Corbin energy, and the once primitive Terran ship soared like a predator. Even the Corbin War Scouts, known for their advanced shielding and centuries of military tradition, had begun to fear what these upstart humans were capable of. 6 months had passed since the Corbin fleet had first arrived in the Sol system. By most galactic measures, Earth was an insignificant speck, a backwater world that had only begun colonizing its moon and Mars. The Corbin Directorate, older than Earth's recorded history, saw an easy conquest. They had done it countless times before: locate a resource-rich planet with a young species, exploit its population for labor, strip mine the planet, and then move on. The Corbin never asked for permission. They simply took. For them, Earth was just another footnote in their long history of expansion. But something went awry. Within weeks of the first engagement, the Corbin supply lines began to falter. Their outposts around the moons of Jupiter reported unexplainable sabotage. Their battleships encountered ambushes near Saturn's rings. Earth's defenses, though primitive in appearance, adapted with astonishing speed. Commander Lawson had grown up reading about Earth's near-constant wars before humanity's tentative unification. For centuries, humanity had battled itself, developing new weapons as quickly as they found ways to defend against them. This evolutionary arms race of purely human conflict had created a diverse tapestry of tactics and technology, some practical, some hopelessly destructive, but all fueled by a relentless drive to survive. So when the Corbin arrived, Earth did not wave white flags. It studied every single defeat and turned each lesson into a new invention. One such invention now powered the main guns on the Venture. Engineers at Luna's Armstrong shipyards had found a way to integrate captured Corbin energy cores into Earth-made railguns. The result was a hybrid cannon that fired tungsten slugs sheathed in foreign plasma, giving the projectiles near light-speed velocity. The first time these cannons were tested against a Corbin frigate, the target ship was obliterated in a single shot. Shocked by the speed of Earth's learning curve, the Corbin pressed forward with more caution, sending only their best-trained officers and forging new alliances with ancient houses. It didn't matter. Earth's forces advanced from the homeworld out, forging pockets of safety from the gravitic mines that the Corbin had left scattered throughout the system. As the war dragged on, the Corbin found themselves on the defensive. The largest turning point came about a year into the conflict. A battered Earth corvette called the Spirit of Calais managed to board and capture a high-value Corbin dreadnought. Using a mixture of brute force and cunning, the humans commandeered the vessel, renamed it the Retribution, and quickly discovered advanced shield harmonics that the Corbin had guarded for centuries. Humanity tore through those secrets like hungry wolves. Within 2 months, Earth's best scientists had replicated and improved upon the Corbin shield design, layering it onto key Terran ships. The Corbin's centuries of dominance evaporated. Their officers had never seen a new species adapt with such rapidity. Countless skirmishes later, the war ended when Earth performed a near-impossible strike on the Corbin's largest orbital battle station in their home sector. The station, the pride of the Directorate, was shredded in under an hour. With the facility gone, the Corbin's logistical center collapsed, their admirals mutinied, and the Directorate surrendered unconditionally. What had started as a lopsided invasion attempt became one of the most humiliating defeats in Corbin memory. Worse still, rumors spread among other major powers in the galaxy. The humans had accomplished in mere years what most species took centuries to develop. A race that only a century ago hadn't stepped beyond its own moon had now bested the proud Corbin. In the aftermath, Earth negotiated a surprising settlement. They demanded reparations to rebuild the damage done to their system, but they refused to annex Corbin territory. Instead, they forced the Directorate to sign an extensive armistice that included technology exchange and commercial rights. The humans, it seemed, had no immediate interest in establishing an empire. Yet, their victory over the Corbin elevated them to galactic notice, and with that notice came an undercurrent of fear. The question on everyone's mind was, how did this newcomer species accomplish such an impossible feat? A few months after the formal end to the Corbin War, the Hegemony Council called an emergency meeting. It took place on the drifting station known as Mocker's Point, a neutral site for all the major powers. High Consul Urvex of the Hegemony hosted the session, summoning representatives from the Tekri Union, the Oxer Collective, the Vazar Dominion, and others. The humans were invited, but none appeared in person. They sent only a single encrypted message, politely expressing that urgent matters on Earth demand our presence. To many of the older species, this only deepened the mystique. Were humans so confident they didn't need to show up? High Consul Urvex studied the swirling hologram of Earth's sphere above the round table in Mocker's Point. Despite outward neutrality, Urvex felt a creeping sense of dread. Already, the Hegemony's intelligence files contained contradictory claims about Earth's new military capabilities. Some said humans had discovered faster-than-light jump points that didn't require standard slipspace gates. Others spoke of a new gravity lance that could collapse localized space-time. A few outlandish rumors claimed humans had even started tinkering with living weapons or artificially grown empathic organisms that could sense hostility. The more Urvex read, the more he suspected half were lies, half were truth, but which half was which? Taking the podium, Urvex opened the discussion. Fellow representatives, we must address the human question. The Corbin Directorate's thorough defeat at their hands is a cause for alarm. Either the Corbin overestimated themselves, or the humans truly possess an extraordinary capacity for warfare. Our intelligence suggests the latter. We must decide whether to approach these Terrans as allies or threats. Our centuries-long balance of power depends on this choice. A hush fell over the gathered leaders. Ambassador Growl of the Tekri Union, a short reptilian figure, hissed in agreement. We have lost scouting vessels to them. Each time, the humans return the crews unharmed, but the ships come back bearing modifications. It's as if they're sending a message. We know what you're doing. We can improve your own technology, then hand it back to you as a warning. A murmur rippled through the hall. Ambassador Marazio of the Oxer Collective leaned forward, for eyes blinking in unison. The Terrans are bold. They do not conform to standard protocols of diplomacy. We have tried to glean data from their public transmissions. They broadcast contradictory information, announcements of unstoppable weapons, then public debates about banning such research. It's impossible to tell what is propaganda and what is real. High Consul Urvex steepled his fingers thoughtfully. We suspect they are experts in psychological warfare, drawing from thousands of years of internal conflict. They do not need to produce real superweapons if they can convince the galaxy they already have them. That statement set the tone for the rest of the meeting. The old powers concluded that they needed more data. The Vazar Dominion in particular volunteered to send an investigative flotilla to Earth's borders to observe the Terran defenses and glean the truth behind the rumors. In a secret addendum, some factions spoke of a preemptive strike if humans proved too dangerous. The seeds of mistrust were sown. Yet behind all the politicking, none of the species dared to forget the example of the Corbin. Attacking Earth might be suicidal. On Earth, Admiral Ryan Tate reread the short summary of that same meeting. The Terrans had an espionage web of their own, though it was carefully hidden beneath layers of outdated signals, improbable data routes, and intentionally misleading footprints. Tate's role, as Supreme Commander of the Earth Defense Force, was to keep the galaxy guessing just enough to deter any future invasions. He stood in a war room on the dark side of the moon, deep within Armstrong's shipyards. Technicians and officers bustled about, making final checks on the newly refitted dreadnought Aegis. This would be the flagship of Earth's new diplomatic initiative, or so the official story went. In truth, the Aegis was more of a stage prop than a weapon. "You're reading the hegemony transcripts again," said a voice at his side. Commander Alina Petrov stepped forward, her bright eyes reflecting the overhead lights. She had been Tate's chief intelligence advisor since the end of the Corbin War, the architect of Earth's greatest weapon, a carefully curated reputation for unstoppable force. Any changes in their stance? Same concerns. Tate turned off his datapad. They're sending the Vazir soon. Dominion ships, diplomatic envoys, probably loaded with scanners to check how many planet killers were supposedly hiding. You know the routine. Petrov smirked. We'll show them exactly what they want to see. Or rather, what we want them to want to see. Let them believe we have a functional quantum teleportation grid or living planet shield technology. Whatever nonsense they fear. Fear is our currency now. Tate nodded, remembering how Earth's own wars had taught them the value of deception. The final victory over the Corbin had involved exactly that kind of trick, half-baked illusions of unstoppable gravity bombs. The bombs never existed beyond lab prototypes, but the Corbin admirals panicked and abandoned their defensive lines, allowing a relatively modest Terran strike force to decapitate their command center. In a matter of days, centuries of Corbin arrogance crumbled. Beyond the war room's main viewport, Earth glowed in the distance, the swirl of blue and green illuminated by sunlight. Even from here, Tate could see the orbital ring under construction and the half-finished solar arrays that would eventually beam power across the system. Within the next year, the Earth-Moon dyad would be turned into a fortress of illusions. Sensor ghosts, decoy battle stations, partial prototypes for superweapons that might or might not function. By then, perhaps no one would dare attack humanity again. A few weeks later, the Vazir flotilla arrived at the edge of Sol System. Leading it was Commander Vex Lauren, an experienced officer known for his thoroughness and sharp mind. The Dominion had given him explicit instructions to determine Earth's true capabilities. Every sensor on the flagship Eternal Vigilance was calibrated to sniff out anomalies in the electromagnetic and gravitational fields around Earth space. Their first stop was near the battered remains of the old Corbin blockade posts around Pluto. Vex Lauren studied the readouts, perplexed by what he saw. Almost everything was scuttled or cannibalized. It was as if humans had stripped any valuable materials or technology and left the husks to float. No defensive grid, no active scanning arrays. Yet his long-range instruments kept detecting ephemeral spikes in subspace, as though Earth was employing advanced scanning from hidden vantage points. Lieutenant Pax Vala, standing at his right, noted the same data. "Commander, it seems the humans are letting us see exactly what they want us to see, or else they're incompetent at hiding their residual signals." She paused, her tone laden with skepticism. "But I doubt incompetence is the reason. This might be a deliberate message. We know you're here. We don't bother cleaning up the evidence of your presence because we don't fear you." Vex Lauren's 4 eyes narrowed in thought. If it's intimidation, it's subtle. Let's proceed. The hegemony insists on establishing a formal diplomatic contact near Saturn's orbit. As the Eternal Vigilance made its slow approach to Saturn, a small Terran escort ship appeared on their scanners, an unassuming craft called the UNS Wayfinder. It hailed them with calm politeness, instructing the Vazir ships to follow. Commander Lauren found himself guided to Titan, Saturn's largest moon, where an entire Terran settlement displayed the same confounding mixture of hyper-advanced modules and apparently primitive structures. The docking procedures were straightforward. Lauren and an away team prepared to disembark. Once inside Titan's main habitat dome, the Vazir delegation encountered a station bustling with Terran civilians and official staff of the Earth Defense Force. Military uniforms, scientific personnel, and even families meandering about. The environment looked so normal that Lauren grew suspicious. No race in the galaxy, after winning a war against a major power, would leave one of its main outposts so open. Unless, of course, that appearance was all part of a carefully curated facade. They were greeted by a middle-aged man wearing an EDF uniform. His name tag read Admiral Ryan Tate. With him was Commander Alina Petrov. Lauren noticed how both humans stood confidently, their posture relaxed yet alert. Their eyes, binocular eyes, so typical of a predator species, conveyed an unsettling calm. "Welcome, Commander Lauren," Tate said, inclining his head. "We trust your journey was uneventful. It's an honor to receive representatives from the Vazir Dominion." Lauren made the formal Vazir greeting, bowing slightly. "We come in peace, Admiral Tate. Our mission is purely diplomatic, though we have been asked to learn more about your—" He hesitated, choosing his words. "Your remarkable progress in spacefaring technology." Petrov's smile was mild. "We're happy to show you around, but I caution that certain areas remain restricted. We have industrial secrets and experimental prototypes. As you might guess, trust must be earned." Lauren caught the implied challenge. "Of course. We only asked to see what any prospective allies might share with each other." They set off on a tour of Titan's interior. They saw workshops, assembling hull pieces for mid-range defense cruisers, labs that studied the methane lakes, and agricultural pods that grew Earth crops adapted to Titan's environment. Vex Lauren found everything technologically advanced, but not impossibly so. It could all be explained by the reverse engineering of Corbin tech, combined with Earth's own resourcefulness. Yet every so often, he glimpsed oddities, a sealed corridor with hazard symbols indicating gravitic testing, or a research wing rumored to study quantum phase distortion. Those sections remained off-limits, blocked by thick blast doors and guarded by security drones. The partial glimpses of these labs fueled the rumor mill in Lauren's mind. Perhaps that was precisely the point. Throughout their stay, Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov offered carefully worded remarks that hinted at far more powerful breakthroughs. Tate mentioned how the labs had only scratched the surface of gravity lances, the same rumored weapon that ended the Corbin conflict. Petrov noted how Earth science teams had begun exploring localized wormhole creation, but insisted it was still in early stages. Lauren had no way of verifying any of it. The humans spoke with the confidence of a species that either possessed these wonders or wanted others to believe they did. Lieutenant Pax Vala was the first to slip into borderline paranoia. On the third day of their Titan visit, she confided quietly to Lauren, "Commander, I suspect every step we've taken was pre-scripted. They've orchestrated our entire itinerary." Notice how on day one, they showed us the second-level labs, which were interesting but not mind-blowing. Day two, they let us glimpse the words gravity lance and quantum distortion, but blocked us from going anywhere near them. Now it's day three, and they hint that maybe tomorrow we'll see their real advanced sites near Jupiter. I believe they're feeding our curiosity in increments, controlling our impressions. Lauren nodded gravely. That aligns with the hegemony's suspicion that Earth employs psychological warfare on a strategic scale. We remain polite and observant. Soon, they'll lead us to the next chapter of their demonstration. Sure enough, on the morning of the fourth day, Admiral Tate announced that an unexpected opportunity had arisen. The Vazir might accompany him to the Jupiter shipyards, a massive facility that served as a nexus for Earth's deep space projects. Lauren and his team boarded a swift Terran transport, the Swift Dawn, and set course for Jupiter. The journey took fewer hours than any of the Vazir had expected. Lauren's instruments measured a speed that outstripped known sublight engines by a factor of 4, still not impossible, but extremely high performance. The humans were obviously proud of it. Jupiter loomed large in the transport's windows, swirling with orange and brown storms, flanked by an array of orbital stations that glistened under the distant sun. Construction scaffolds glided around newly built hulls. Each station bristled with docking arms that latched onto starships in various stages of assembly. Human engineers had turned Jupiter's orbit into an industrial heartland. In an observation lounge, Commander Petrov explained, "This is where we adapt what we learn. Every time we capture or salvage alien tech, we bring it here, break it down, rebuild it in new ways." Lauren walked to the glass, gazing at the biggest structure, a half-finished dreadnought that dwarfed anything he'd ever seen. It was shaped somewhat like a giant spearhead. "That's the ESF Aegis," Petrov said, following his line of sight. "It will be our flagship for deep space exploration and peacekeeping. At least, that's the official statement." "An impressive sight," Lauren replied. He tried to maintain a neutral tone, but the scale of the vessel was intimidating. How long before it's complete? Tate and Petrov exchanged glances. Petrov offered a cryptic smile. Sooner than you might expect. They were escorted off the Swift Dawn to board a smaller shuttle that would take them to one of the station's docking ports. From there, Tate led the Vazir delegation through sterile corridors filled with Terran personnel. Almost none of the humans spared them more than a passing glance, as if delegations of four-eyed aliens were now part of daily life. Lauren suspected that was another subtle message. Earth is used to the galaxy now, unafraid of outsiders. Eventually, they arrived at a sealed chamber whose signage simply read Section G. Security checks were rigorous. A faint hum of massive energy fields suggested advanced scanning equipment was verifying everyone's molecular structure. Once inside, Lauren found himself in a large observation deck overlooking a test area. Technicians in protective suits bustled around a set of ring-shaped devices encircling a metallic sphere. The sphere pulsed with a faint violet light. Large cables ran from the sphere to a cluster of power generators. Tate cleared his throat. Commander Lauren, what you're about to witness is confidential. We don't typically share it with foreign powers. But Earth has no interest in further secrets if we are to establish genuine trust. He paused for dramatic effect. This device, if all goes well, will enable instantaneous transit across interstellar distances. We call it the Q-Bridge. Lauren nearly spoke, but his throat went dry. Instantaneous transit across star systems was considered a theoretical impossibility by most in the hegemony, or at best a technology locked behind a labyrinth of unsolved quantum constraints. He glanced at Pax Vala, whose skin tone had paled with shock. The entire Vazir delegation stared, stunned. "Allow me to demonstrate," Petrov said quietly. She signaled the technicians, who tapped commands into their consoles. The ring devices began spinning around the sphere. The purple glow intensified, warping the air in the chamber. Then, in an instant of brilliant light, the sphere vanished, or seemed to vanish. The readouts on the control panel indicated a successful translocation. Moments later, an image came through on a separate monitor, showing a remote location where the sphere had reappeared. The data read Ganymede Station, at first, only 1,000,000 kilometers away from Jupiter, close enough to confirm that at least localized teleportation was feasible. But then, Petrov had the technicians feed coordinates from beyond the Sol system. Another flash, another demonstration, and the sphere apparently rematerialized at the outskirts of a place labeled Lambda 3 cluster, far beyond typical jump lane coverage. Lauren's mind raced. If this were real, it changed everything. No supply lines, no travel times. Earth could strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning. Pax Vala managed to whisper, "That's impossible." Even with advanced slip-space manipulation, the power requirements would be astronomical. Tate nodded solemnly. "Yes, it is nearly impossible for continuous operation. At present, the Q-Bridge is still experimental. We're sharing it with you to show our willingness to be transparent. Earth seeks no further conquests, but we must secure our borders. Imagine if we fully perfected this. It would deter any war, wouldn't it?" The demonstration ended. Lauren's thoughts spiraled. He had come to confirm or debunk rumors of Earth's unstoppable supertech. Now, he'd witnessed something beyond his worst suspicions, an instantaneous transit device. If even half of this was real, the entire hegemony was at the mercy of Terran expansion. His mind burned with the memory of the Corbin War. How easily Earth had forced the Directorate to capitulate. If this Q-Bridge device existed, Earth could strike the hegemony capital, Vazura, before they even saw it coming. Was it real or an elaborate hoax? Lauren sensed it might be both. The entire demonstration could have been a carefully orchestrated trick, but the Terrans were so confident, so ready with data logs, it was nearly impossible to discern the truth. The hair on the back of Lauren's neck prickled with the knowledge that either possibility was equally terrifying. Soon after, a short reception was held. Tate offered a toast to the future of human-Vazir cooperation. Lauren raised his glass, managing a polite smile. Pax Vala stood silent, her eyes flicking from one Terran officer to the next, trying to decode their expressions. The clinking of glasses rang hollow. Everyone sensed the magnitude of the demonstration, yet nobody dared break the pretense of cordiality. Later, in the quiet of their assigned quarters on the station, Lauren gathered his team. Security Chief DRA, arms folded, snorted with barely contained agitation. "We have to tell the Dominion. This is beyond anything we suspected. If they can deploy that device operationally." Pax Vala interjected. "We're still not certain it works on a large scale. They teleported a small sphere. Weaponizing it might require magnitudes more power. There could be 1,000 technical hurdles. But if it is a ruse, it's a brilliant one." Lauren let out a slow breath. "We must consider that Earth's biggest strength isn't just technology. It's how they manipulate the perceptions of other species. They destroyed the Corbin's largest station, but how they did it remains murky. They might have had a super weapon, or they might have just exploited Corbin weaknesses in security." Pilot Tef, who specialized in analyzing foreign data, offered another perspective. "I've been observing their public infrastructure, Commander. There's a huge project on Mars, supposedly an advanced terraforming initiative. But I found references to genetic labs, something about empathic vegetation. When I cross-referenced the data, I realized it could be adapted to sense or repel hostile forces. Imagine entire ecosystems that fight back if they detect aggression." DRA rolled his eyes. "Now they can grow living fortresses? It sounds insane." Tef shrugged. "Everything about these humans sounded insane when we first heard of them. We considered them a primitive species. Yet look what they've accomplished." Lauren stood. "One thing is certain. We must inform the Dominion that Earth's claims about quantum teleportation are plausible, at least. The threat alone can keep entire fleets from daring an assault. I suspect that's exactly why they showed us." The next day, a flurry of communications rocked the station. The Hegemony Council had learned of the demonstration at Jupiter, somehow. They broadcast a message demanding an explanation for unauthorized quantum infiltration. The humans insisted it was merely a private experiment, that no infiltration had occurred. The Vazir found themselves in the middle, forced to confirm or deny what they had seen. Lauren's ambiguous response, carefully worded, fueled speculation across known space. The rumors soared. Earth had quantum bombs. Earth had unstoppable teleportation armies. Earth was growing living weapons. Some rumor-mongers insisted Earth had harnessed black holes in their labs. The galaxy trembled with the unknown. Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov seemed unperturbed. They led Lauren to a secure communications chamber, where a live feed had been established with High Consul Yervex. Lauren stood to one side, uncertain if he was a guest or a hostage. On the giant screen, Yervex's visage flickered. The High Consul was flanked by other hegemony leaders. The moment he spotted Lauren, he said, "Commander, confirm or deny. Has Earth developed a device that bypasses standard slip-space travel?" Lauren's throat tightened. He recalled the directive from the Dominion: gather information, but avoid sparking conflict. "Consul Yervex, I can only say that I have personally witnessed a demonstration involving matter displacement. The scale of its efficacy is not fully clear." Yervex turned to Tate. "Admiral, do you realize you may be in violation of multiple interstellar treaties regarding superluminal weaponization?" Tate's expression remained neutral. "High Consul, Earth does not recognize certain archaic treaties that we never signed. Nonetheless, we have no intention of aggression. We seek only to ensure that no other species attempts what the Corbin once did. Transparency can sometimes be the best deterrent. Would you not agree?" That statement carried an undercurrent of threat. Show enough power, real or illusory, and others back off. Yervex's mouth was a thin line. "We have reason to believe you're also experimenting with militarized genetics on Mars. Do you claim that it's purely peaceful as well?" Petrov stepped forward. "Research in genetic modification is not inherently hostile. We explore ways to improve planetary ecosystems. As for militarization, let us be direct. We have no need to weaponize such things if the galaxy respects our sovereignty. Urvex's eyes flicked to Lauren, then back to Tate. Finally, he let out a slow sigh. Very well. I propose a summit. Earth and the major powers must convene to discuss the new balance of power. We will not risk an arms race or an unprovoked war if we can help it. Commander Lauren will return with the details. Tate inclined his head politely. That is acceptable. We stand ready to negotiate peaceful coexistence. The communication ended. Lauren stared at the blank screen, feeling a strange mixture of relief and unease. For now, Earth had avoided confrontation through pure bravado, or maybe authentic might. Either way, the Dominion would want an immediate report. Lauren secured his notes, while Petrov calmly escorted him out of the room, all smiles and professional courtesy. That night, the Vazir delegation prepared to depart. Lauren once again had a private conversation with Tef about the Mars research. If Earth truly was engineering empathic plants, it might be a defensive measure that could neutralize enemy forces through direct biological means. Or maybe that, too, was a ruse. The swirl of half-truths made Lauren's head spin. But in the grand scheme, this uncertainty benefited Earth more than it did the rest of the galaxy. They left the Jupiter facility aboard their flagship, setting course for the Dominion's nearest hyperspace gate. On the journey, Lauren composed his official report. He could already imagine the uproar it would cause. Half the Dominion's council would be screaming for immediate war, half for forging an alliance at any cost. Yet if one message emerged from the demonstration, it was this: Earth would not be an easy foe. Humanity had grown from an unknown species to a potential superpower, almost overnight on the galactic timeline. The Vazir must decide whether to greet them as an ally or risk repeating the Corbin's fate. When the Vazir reached Dominion space, Lauren was whisked to a closed hearing with the highest officials of the Dominion's War Council. They grilled him on the Q-Bridge demonstration, the rumored genetic labs on Mars, the scale of Earth's Navy. Lauren responded with the best precision he could, emphasizing the uncertain nature of it all. That, ironically, was the most important fact. No one outside Earth could be certain just how powerful Terran technology truly was. The hearing was tense, culminating in the War Council's uneasy resolution. We must not provoke Earth. We will align with other hegemony powers to form a strategic coalition, should the humans overreach. But open war is the last resort. Secretly, Lauren felt relief. The Dominion had at least realized that an offensive strike would be catastrophic, especially if half of Earth's rumored technologies were real. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov stood in a quiet observation deck of Armstrong's shipyards, watching the slow progress on the nearly completed Aegis dreadnought. Petrov crossed her arms. So they bought it. Or at least, they didn't call our bluff. Tate nodded. The Q-Bridge demonstration was staged carefully enough. We teleported a small object to Ganymede, then fed the next set of coordinates into a remote drone that broadcast a pre-recorded environment from across the galaxy. The Vazir had no way to confirm otherwise. Petrov exhaled, a smile tugging at her lips. We're good at illusions. If they ever found out how many times our so-called unstoppable weapons are just partial prototypes, we'd lose our biggest advantage. Which is exactly why we can't afford to be complacent, Tate replied. We'll continue real research on advanced FTL methods and whatever else might buy us an edge. But for now, fear remains our shield. The galaxy thinks we can deploy fleets anywhere we want. Below them, the Aegis's massive hull glinted under construction lights. Petrov wondered if it would ever truly become the unstoppable war machine Earth had promised the galaxy. Perhaps it wouldn't have to, so long as alien powers believed it was. She remembered how the Corbin had once scorned Earth's primitive railguns. That arrogance had cost them dearly. The rest of the galaxy would not repeat the Corbin's mistake, which gave Earth the time it needed to build up for real. As time passed, the illusions grew more elaborate. Earth set up test ranges on distant asteroids, frequently broadcasting cryptic glimpses of gravity-based doomsday devices. They allowed certain scouting ships from the Tekri or Oxer to detect partial gravitational anomalies that suggested impossible feats of engineering. Even Titan's labs regularly streamed out half-encrypted data bursts labeled Wormhole Field Test Number 7, successful. Few in the hegemony had the nerve to discount it outright. The humans had already proven that improbable technology was within their grasp. The hegemony summit eventually convened on Mocker's Point. An irony, since that was the same station where the initial worry about humanity had exploded. This time, Earth sent a formal delegation, led by Admiral Tate in person. The gathering was tense from the start. Representatives from the Techri Union, the Oxer Collective, the Battered Corbin Directorate, the Vazar Dominion, and many others were present. High Consul Yervex took the podium again, acknowledging Earth's presence. Dozens of star systems collectively held their breath. Tate's opening speech was measured and direct. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed members of this council, Earth has no interest in expansion beyond our solar system. We do not seek your territories or resources. We only demand our right to self-determination, free from invasion or subjugation. The moment anyone threatens that right, we will respond with technologies that some among you deem impossible. Our position is simple: leave us in peace, and we will remain at peace. He delivered those words with unwavering confidence, letting them linger. Yervex, from the dais, studied Tate's face, searching for any crack in his armor. Admiral, you must understand how the rest of the galaxy views your sudden rise. You have tested planet-killing weapons, tampered with quantum realities, grown living arsenals on Mars. Tate cut in calmly. There are many rumors about what we have or have not done, Consul. Earth's only weapon is our determination to survive. We learned our lesson when the Corbin tried to enslave us. Now the question is, will the hegemony accept us as an equal partner, or must we maintain this posture of mutual suspicion? A ripple of discussion broke out. Some ambassadors hissed in disapproval. Others seemed uncertain. Commander Lauren, from the Vazar Dominion, rose to speak. Admiral Tate, we witnessed your demonstration in Jupiter orbit. If we are to accept you as partners, we must be assured you won't use such capabilities offensively. Tate looked Lauren in the eyes. We have no need for offense if none threaten us. Surely, the Corbin's downfall was enough to deter others from repeating their mistake. That remark stung the Corbin representatives, who remained conspicuously silent. Their entire delegation was subdued, a mere shadow of their once proud empire. The lesson had been hammered into them. Do not underestimate humans. Negotiations wore on. Tensions flared. Some members insisted Earth sign a binding treaty forbidding certain classes of weapons. Tate deflected each request by pointing out that Earth had never been invited to any previous galactic arms treaties, nor had they violated any laws recognized by them. Finally, Yervex proposed a broad non-aggression pact. In exchange for the galaxy officially recognizing Earth's sovereignty and unique defense prerogatives, Earth would forswear invasive research on planetary-scale devastation. The wording was vague enough to let everyone save face. After hours of back and forth, the pact was signed. The summit concluded without any mass conflict, and the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief, albeit an uneasy one. The diplomatic dance ended with Earth leaving Mocker's Point at their leisure, effectively declaring their acceptance as a legitimate power. But in private corners, distrust simmered. Many wondered how long Earth would abide by the pact, if they truly possessed unstoppable weapons. Perhaps the humans themselves wondered the same. On the flight back from Mocker's Point, inside the Aegis, still largely incomplete behind the scenes, Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov sat in a private briefing room. Petrov poured them each a small glass of whiskey, an old Earth tradition. She raised her glass. To illusions. The best ones have a kernel of truth, but never too much. Tate clinked his glass to hers. To illusions, and to the time it buys us. They drank in silence for a moment. Then Petrov set her glass down, her gaze intense. The real question is what we do with that time, Ryan. Our illusions won't hold forever. If the hegemony invests in counterintelligence or some rogue agent stumbles on the truth, we could see war or intimidation attempt again. We must use this window to become strong enough that our illusions aren't necessary. Tate's jaw tightened. I agree. The Aegis can be our first real super dreadnought if we perfect the new reactor designs. Those Mars labs can do more than produce empathic flora. They might unlock new medical and cognitive breakthroughs as well. Every day we see an opportunity for genuine technological leaps. We just have to push forward. If the rest of the galaxy fears or admires us enough to leave us alone, that's an added bonus. Petrov nodded. She remembered the chilling conversation with one of the lead scientists on Mars, Dr. Anika Caldwell, who had described prototypes of responsive ecosystems. If they succeeded, entire forests or farmland could be genetically engineered to read the biosigns of intruders and emit defense toxins or alert local defense grids. At the time, Petrov had been torn between awe and horror. The line between peaceful research and weaponization was perilously thin. For the next decade, Earth leveraged the fear and confusion swirling in the galactic community. Officially, they joined the hegemony as an independent partner, forging scientific exchange programs on paper while in practice revealing next to nothing about their classified projects. The illusions and half-truths persisted. Some civilian vessels were rumored to have miniature Q-bridge nodes, though no one could confirm seeing one operational. Mars's terraforming soared, turning the red planet green and blue in record time, raising fresh whispers that they must be using advanced nuclear or genetic modifications well beyond normal methods. A handful of bold species attempted discreet scouting operations, only to return dazed, claiming they had encountered illusions or ghost signals. Some never returned at all. This fueled rumors that Earth had become even more secretive, employing stealth drones or sentinel fleets hidden behind advanced cloaking. The reality was simpler. Earth had indeed improved sensor disruption to a point that infiltration was extremely difficult, and a few unlucky infiltration teams might have run into real Terran defenses. But the rumor of unstoppable guardians was far more effective than anything else. The labyrinth of illusions grew deeper. Meanwhile, the seeds of actual progress sprouted. Earth's best scientists, building on stolen or purchased alien technology, made genuine breakthroughs. By the time the Aegis completed its final trial run, it was not the unstoppable juggernaut Earth had boasted about, but it was powerful enough to rival any single dreadnought from the known powers. Coupled with Earth's widely believed mythos, the Aegis became the symbol of an empire built on psychological warfare as much as physical might. When the Aegis took its first diplomatic voyage to the Techri Union's capital, it was met with nervous fanfare. The Techri spared no courtesy, rolling out a grand reception. The entire station seemed to tremble with anxiety. Admiral Tate, disembarking with a formal retinue, recognized the fear in the Techri officials' eyes. The ship's presence alone had sent a message. We come in peace, but remember what we could do if provoked. And so the galaxy's cycle of intimidation continued, though no open conflict erupted. In the quieter rooms of Earth's leadership, voices asked how long they could sustain this game. The illusions demanded upkeep, new stories, new leaked data. Some scientists complained that the charade slowed real research, forcing them to dedicate resources to fakes that looked menacing on scans. Others worried about moral consequences. Earth was pushing an entire galaxy into a near-permanent state of tension. And if any species discovered the deception, the repercussions might be catastrophic. Still, year after year passed without a second major war. Humanity's economy grew, thanks to the commercial benefits locked in after the Corbin War. Human culture began to spread too. Terran embassies popped up on worlds that never would have welcomed them before, bridging trade deals, forging personal connections. Young aliens studied at Earth universities, discovering that while certain labs were off-limits, the Terrans were enthusiastic about teaching everything else, especially the arts, philosophy, medicine, and engineering fundamentals. Ironically, Earth's facade of military terror gave them space to display cultural charm. In some corners of the galaxy, humans were seen as practical resourceful partners who demanded respect but offered real opportunities for collaborative growth. Then came an incident in the 8th year after the war, one that tested Earth's illusions to the limit. A rogue faction of the Oxer Collective decided to call humanity's bluff. They had found a star system near the sole border that Earth had quietly annexed for resource mining. Convinced that Earth was all smoke and mirrors, the rogue Oxer commander launched a surprise raid, capturing an outpost on a dwarf planet. The Terran miners, outnumbered and unarmed, surrendered, sending out a frantic distress call. The Oxer force taunted Earth to respond. This was exactly the scenario Tate's entire strategy was meant to deter. Earth's reaction was swift. A small fleet, led by the Aegis, jumped to the area. The confrontation turned vicious. The Oxer, expecting illusions, discovered that Earth's real firepower, while perhaps not galaxy-breaking, was more than sufficient to crush their half-hearted raid. The Aegis overcame the Oxer flagship in minutes, disabling it with a barrage of hybrid railguns and advanced missiles. The rest of the Oxer ships scattered. Some rumored that Earth had also used a new gravitational disruptor, but the only confirmed fact was that the Oxer had lost decisively, forced to retreat with heavy casualties. The entire skirmish took less than an hour. In the aftermath, the Oxer Collective disavowed the rogue faction, claiming ignorance. Publicly, Earth accepted the apology. Privately, Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov knew this was a victory that further cemented the Terran reputation. Now, they had proven that their illusions weren't the whole story. They indeed possessed formidable hardware. The galaxy's question changed from, are the Terrans bluffing, to just how much of their rumored arsenal is real. By the 10th anniversary of the Corbin War's end, Earth had become the single most feared military force in known space without waging a major war beyond that initial conquest. Their illusions and real capabilities intertwined so thoroughly that even high-level insiders sometimes forgot which was which. The Hegemony Council recognized Earth as an independent power. The Corbin Directorate remained docile under Earth's watchful gaze, and potential challengers hesitated. The Dominion's official stance shifted to partnership, seeing that conflict would be suicidal. In fact, Dominion warships sometimes joined Earth in joint exercises, bridging an unlikely alliance. Commander Lauren, the Vazir who had first traveled to Titan, found himself working in tandem with Terran officers. He had never entirely lost his skepticism, but over time, he realized that Earth's ultimate aspiration might not be conquest at all. Their illusions were designed for deterrence, not oppression. Lauren was stationed on a joint scientific mission to the newly terraformed Mars, witnessing firsthand how Terrans adapted biology for massive, planet-wide changes. Some of their research indeed hinted at empathic vegetation, capable, in theory, of detecting hostile intent. But mostly, they focused on food production, climate regulation, and a stable ecosystem. If there was a weapon hidden in those labs, it was so deeply buried in legitimate science that no one could separate fact from rumor. Toward the end of that year, Lauren was invited to a private dinner with Dr. Anika Caldwell, the lead researcher of the empathic flora. Over the meal, Lauren cautiously asked if the Dominion should be concerned about the so-called living fortress. Caldwell gave a tired smile. It's possible to weaponize almost any technology, Commander. But the real purpose of these plants is to create sustainable life support for deep space habitats. If they can respond to emotional states, it might help reduce stress in close-quarters living. That's the official line. Unofficially, she shrugged, some in the military see potential in an organic security system. Let's hope we never need it. That conversation revealed a fundamental truth. Earth's progress was driven by necessity and curiosity, not just conquest. It became easier for Lauren to see how Earth's frightening reputation was deliberately cultivated to buy breathing room from older, more powerful species. Perhaps, in time, trust could replace fear. Or perhaps fear was all that kept the galaxy from devouring itself in an arms race. In a private moment, Lauren documented his evolving insight and dispatched it to the Dominion leadership. He advised them to deepen collaboration with Earth. He argued that Earth, for all its illusions and cunning, might prove a stabilizing force. If they believed they had no reason to hide behind illusions any longer, maybe the galaxy could reach a more authentic peace. The Dominion's response was cautious optimism, showing that many in the hegemony had come to realize Earth's illusions were the galaxy's illusions, too. Back in Armstrong's shipyards, Admiral Tate and Commander Petrov took one last walk along a newly opened observation corridor. Construction workers cheered as the Aegis's next upgrade was completed, featuring improved reactors with genuine advanced capabilities. Not illusions this time, actual leaps forward. Tate rested a hand on a railing and gazed through the viewport. The Earth glowed in the distance, accompanied by the shining curve of the orbital ring, and beyond that, the vast cosmic sea. Petrov was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "We stand at crossroads. Our illusions have served us well, but we're no longer that desperate planet. We've grown. The real capabilities are starting to catch up to the myths." Tate nodded. Perhaps that was always the plan. Pretend to be unstoppable while we buy time to become unstoppable. But is that what we really want? Unmatched military might? Or do we just want to live without fear of invasion? Petrov thought of the anxious faces she had seen among the Tekri, the Vazir, the Oxer. Fear had become Earth's calling card, overshadowing the potential for genuine friendship. She exhaled softly. Maybe, in the future, we show more of our real selves. Let them see our achievements in medicine, art, exploration. Let the illusions fade as we prove we aren't a threat unless threatened. Tate gave a small, thoughtful smile. One day, but for now, the galaxy still has old empires with old grudges. Until we're sure they won't unite against us, illusions remain a shield. They turned from the viewport and walked deeper into the station. Workers parted to let them pass, each and every one aware that they labored on the flagship of a species that had changed the galactic balance of power in less than a single generation. Earth had gone from a minor footnote in the star charts to the apex of fear and speculation. On the other side of the station, a small group of visitors from the Tekri Union gawked at the new sections of the ring, obviously intimidated by the scale. One muttered something about how humans never stop building. Another insisted that hidden inside the station's core must be a quantum superbomb, or perhaps a wormhole weapon. Their guide did not bother correcting them. In a sense, these rumors were the final product of all Earth's efforts. The illusions, half-truths, prototypes, and misdirection had forged a towering reputation that overshadowed the complexities of reality. If an alien warlord or empire even considered attacking, they had to weigh the risk that the rumors might be true. And with so many scattered pieces of evidence, some staged, some real, no one dare gamble. Meanwhile, Earth quietly advanced for real, step by step, turning myths into partial realities. Years from now, historians would debate which was Earth's greatest invention: the hybrid railguns, the improved warp reactors, or the living sentinel plants. But the subtle answer, repeated in hushed circles, was that Earth's mightiest weapon had always been psychological warfare. A tapestry of illusions, demonstrations, and rumors meticulously designed to make every potential enemy see themselves as hopelessly outmatched before they even fired a shot. And so the galaxy settled into an uneasy peace orchestrated by a species once dismissed as mere primitives. From the Corbin's humiliating downfall to the hegemony's reluctant acceptance, from the illusions at Titan to the legendary Q-Bridge demonstration at Jupiter, Earth had transformed from galactic newcomer to the single most feared military force in known space. Not a single planet had been conquered, not a single empire annexed, and yet the entire galactic community knew to tread carefully around humanity. On those quiet nights in Armstrong's shipyards, Admiral Tate would gaze at the starlit curve of Earth and think of the millions of Terrans who slept safely below. He would recall the face of every soldier lost to the Corbin War and remind himself that the illusions existed for a reason, to ensure that war stayed buried in the past. Commander Petrov, for her part, would finalize the day's intelligence updates, mapping out the next wave of rumors they'd strategically leak. She'd take a last glance at new design blueprints for genuinely astonishing devices, some of which might be completed within a decade, others far beyond the current generation's capacity. But if the galaxy believed those weapons existed today, all the better. Thus ended humanity's first great era of interstellar ascension, etched in rumor and half-truth. The day might come when the illusions were no longer needed. Perhaps Earth would stand on the foundation of real achievements, forging alliances on sincerity rather than fear. Until that day arrived, the galaxy would continue to whisper about unstoppable Terran superweapons, living fortress worlds, and teleportation fleets. And Earth, secure behind the walls of myth it had so carefully built, would look outward toward the stars, quietly preparing for the day it no longer had to pretend to be invincible, because it truly would be.